happening is we're seeing a lot of burnout. We're seeing a lot of burnout with educators. And what another thing, phenomenon actually, what I've noticed is even in a country like Canada, where it's mainly a government institutionalized schooling, we have a shortage of teachers. And now I'm so blessed to be back working in Kuwait, and we also have a shortage of teachers. So it's a global phenomenon right now that there is a shortage of educators in education. Hello, Dr. Ghulam. Nice to have you here with us. So what's happening is we're having a major shortage of educators, and I just think that it's because the career is taking on a different vision and mission going forward. And I beg to ask you to consider that online learning is not going anywhere, and if anything, it will stay. So with online learning, we also need to manage that classroom as well, because historically in the classroom, there's just you, the student, and then the hierarchy of school. However, now when children are learning from home, there's you, there's the student, their parents, maybe their grandparents, maybe their cousins, maybe an auntie, maybe an uncle, some pets. Everybody is listening, seeing, watching, and looking at you. You are on screen. So everybody is monitoring exactly what you are doing as the educator. And there's very little margin for error. It's almost as though you need to be perfect at all times. So with that being said, I'd like to definitely go ahead and get into our presentation now. So Anne, are you going to make me a presenter?
You're already as a presenter.
Okay, sounds good. So I'm going to share my screen then. Give me 1 second, friends. I'm just going to share my screen here with you. All right, can I get a thumbs up if you can see my screen? Can I just get a thumbs up from everyone, possibly? All right, thank you. Awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get into it. And as I said, we're going to be talking about Classroom Management 101. And so why should you listen to me? Who am I? Why should you ever listen to me? So as Anne graciously said, I've been working in education now for 14 years. I've been working in 4 different countries, as well as I still collaborate with a school in China. And I was in Ronxian, which is in the Sichuan district. I'm sorry if I butchered that. In Canada, I'm an educational instructional coach, and I've been trained by Joellen Killian. If you know her, she's coming out of a think tank institution in the United States. And I've been doing instructional coaching for the last 5 years with newcomers to Canada. We no longer call them ELL students. They are now considered MLL students because they're not coming with no capacity. They do have capacity in language. They are multilingual learners. And so that's what I've been doing for 5 years. And prior to that, I've taught K to 12, and I've done that in France and in Kuwait previously and in Canada. So our agenda for today is we're going to talk about just an ultimate list of classroom management. And as we know, we are in a pre-COVID world, and we are working with 21st century students who in many cases are already coming to school with so much capacity that we need to just foster and harbor. Children across the globe are basically, coming from the same jumping point. They have internet, they have access to internet, they want to be a global citizens. There is no more margin for, well, you're from here, so you need to behave like this. You know, I left Kuwait in 2017, and I'm back now in 2021, and my eyes are just blown like at all the changes and especially the changes in youth as well. And as I said, children are global citizens now. You know, they all want to be at the same starting point. So we are looking at different types of students. We have the always student, the sometimes student, and the never student. They are always behaving, sometimes working hard, and never working hard. We know that a lot of children come to us with different reasons why they can or they can't participate in a classroom setting. There could be many reasons that have already happened before they've come to school. So to tell them once they get there, well, you have to do this, you don't know what they're coming out of at the beginning of their day. Of course, in different countries, there's different situations, and we know that family structure looks very different globally. In Canada, I can again, from my own workings and dealings. And in Canada, I've always basically worked in low income and, as I said, in newcomer refugee settings. So when the students come to school in the morning, I can't just go ahead and hit them with, hey, you got to do this. I don't know what could have happened before they got to school and what baggage they're bringing with them into the school. Now I work in Kuwait, so family structure looks very different. I would say, if I could say respectfully, about 90% of fathers are in the home here. Whereas in Canada, we're looking at something like 68% of fathers are not in the home. So totally different platforms. So this is why when we look at students, we really have to be mindful and cognizant of how they're coming to school, that presentation. You might have a student that never pays attention. Okay, there could be a reason why they're distracted. There could be something that's initiating this distraction. We'll keep going here. 3 types of behavioral management styles. So what are you when you're going into your classroom? You're basically the CEO of your class. It's you. There's you and there's the students. However, now in a post-COVID world, if you're still online, there's you and everyone else. So what exactly is your characteristic trait when you're coming to the classroom as the leader in the classroom? Because the sage on the stage, there is room for that. There is a place for that. However, with students who have access to so much knowledge all the time, we are sort of merging into the role of guide on the side. All right. So are you authoritarian, permissive, or authoritative? What exactly is the role that you have that you're taking on? Now, I'm sorry, I don't see the chat box so much, so Anne will prompt me when there are questions and so forth. Now, we have different foundational beliefs as educators that caring is key, but you don't want to cross the line. As Anne mentioned in my bio, I also sit on the Ontario College of Teachers roster for Fitness to Practice. And this is a panel of adjudicators where we look at cases where educators have crossed that caring line. What does that look like? You're not texting parents and students after school. You're keeping this professional. You're remaining on a platform that is monitored by your administration, by your school. A lot of educators may or may not like that. I am a big proponent of it. I want them to monitor my emails because if something comes up, I want to know that they already know what has been said. And should this go further with, say, the parents or whatever third party it might be, as my lawyer says, it's not about you, it's about the people that aren't in the room. And so I prefer that the school monitors that communication. I do not want to communicate with parents on any other platform except the school email. And I would recommend that you don't either. Conflict is always inevitable. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So in that case, you need to have your emotional IQ ready and understand that it is not about you. It's not about you. It's not a personal attack. Nothing that happens in that classroom should be a personal attack on you. And going back to number 1, caring is key, of course. You're an educator, you need to care, but you need to draw that line in the sand, that you're not crossing that line. You're not a friend to parents, you're not a friend to students, you're an educator. Your personal and private life is personal and private. The only thing that should be happening in that classroom is in regards to conflict, is just in regards to, say, learning, a dispute on grades or something like that. There is no margin for that error anymore. We used to live in a world that was very over friendly, and I think that at some point got abused. However, we currently live in a very litigious society. So anything at any point can be questioned. Good behavior must be systemically taught. And what that means is that every educator has a different set of norms that they want to follow in their classroom. So maybe for me, I don't mind if students drink. I actually, truthfully, if I can be honest and human, I don't even really mind if they eat, because I don't know when they ate last and they're growing. But I know that a lot of educators don't like that. So it all depends. Your school, your divisional instruction, your team lead, it all depends. Certain educational bodies function differently than others. And then good discipline is timely. Find the hill that you're going to die on. Don't just fight to fight. Don't find everything in the classroom to be an issue. Not everything needs to be an issue. All right. So find the hill that you're going to die on, right? It could be something major, it could be something minor. But what is it that you deem as the most important, or the thing that you're going to, go after a kid for or call their parents for? The worst thing you can do is continuously harbor on one point and just go over and over and over it again, or call home over and over and over again. I would recommend not to do that. So 7 things that effective teachers do every single day. And I apologize. I get dry mouth very often, and I also love to drink coffee. And yesterday was National Coffee Day, so please forgive me. Make an allowance for me. So 7 things that educators do every single day. Prepare, prepare, prepare. You can never be over prepared. However, the best lesson in the entire world can go upside down if the behavior in the classroom is not managed and addressed. So you can be the greatest math teacher on earth. However, if you go into a classroom and it's upside down and nobody's doing or knowing or following or behaving in the way that they need to for a progressive learning environment, you can forget it. The lesson is completely out the door. And I think we've all been there. I think we've all been there when, the lesson has been completely out the door, even though it was awesome, because we just can't get that classroom to settle. Treat every student with respect and dignity. My mentor always says they don't keep the good ones at home. It's not like in a family, they have the best kids and they hide them in a closet and they send you the worst ones. No, parents are sending you what they have. That is it. That's their kids. That's the best they have. Good, bad, lazy, not lazy. They're sending you everything that they have. And the last thing that they want to hear is that their child is a failure. What we do know with students is that a bad boy or bad girl is more lucrative than a dumb girl or a dumb boy. It's more attractive to be called a bad boy than to be called a dumb boy who can't read. And we know that children who have learning disabilities, they act out in different ways, and that transpires into the classroom. Smile. It's a game changer. You don't need to laugh or giggle, but always smile. Have a positive outlook on the classroom. Even with the students that are difficult, when they're behaving in a way that is unacceptable, pause, calm down, relax, Take a deep breath, smile, and tell them we'll speak after. Don't go to the level that they're pushing you to, because when you match them at that level of frustration, they won. Why? For what? You could lose your job now. If you go to that level and say you're on screen and you're recorded, they can put that on social media. You could lose your job. Remember, you're the professional. I know it's not fair, it's not equitable, but you're the professional. So just do the right thing, because at the end, this is for many of us our livelihood. So we don't want to find ourselves in a situation where it will reflect badly on us and we could lose our teaching license. I'll keep going. Be a good actor. As I said, this is an act. When you're at school, maybe at home, you love to, play music and you're very loud and outgoing, and, you have this more eclectic personality. Well, as I was once told by an administrator, we don't pay you to do that. You're paid by the institution, by the organization to teach. In some schools, they tell you what to teach. In other schools, you have that freedom and creativity to bring in what you want. But they're not paying you to be, John, the electric guitarist. You're there hired as an employee. At the end of the day, you are an employee. So you need to know exactly what it is that your educational institution is looking for. You need to do that, and then you need to engage and entertain the students within those parameters and those boundaries, okay? Because, we may take it personal, but it's actually not personal. A lot of it is safety for you as an educator, not to find yourself in a situation that could reflect badly on you. As I said earlier, remain calm and composed. You want to remain calm all the time. Just remain calm. The class is upside down. You have one trigger student who's triggering the classroom. He's getting everything going upside down, inside out, back, right, front, down, total mess, disaster. Remain calm. There is no need ever for you to go to that point where you can't return, because again, it will look badly on you. It will be said you're the educator, they're the child, right? Children lie, we do know that, but they're always believed. So keep that in the back of your mind. Keep calm and composed. No matter what's happening, take a deep breath, grab your coffee, take a sip of coffee, stand at the front of the classroom and deep breathe. If you need assistance, maybe your school has a counselor, or you might need a vice principal to come and intervene. I would say only to go and utilize that if it's really severe. I don't know that globally in private education that it can reach that level, but I will tell you firsthand, in public education, it can get to levels where you as a human being are challenged to the point of no return. And I know we have educators here from all over the world, so I'm really trying to get a global perspective. If I speak to myself right now, working in private education, I will never get to that point with my students. And I'm so blessed this year. I don't want to brag, but I have a fabulous class. I don't want to brag, but I got a beautiful gift. So no matter what you're doing, you need to remain calm and composed. You are the educator in the room. If you need to call for help, there is absolutely no shame in doing that. And any administrator that comes back on you and says, why did you call for help? How come you couldn't handle that? and you know that you've exercised your greatest ability as an educator, and you know that the situation has gone to a different level, I would question their ability to be an administrator. Their job is not to sit behind a desk. Their job is to be present, personable, and protective of everyone in the environment, and that includes teachers. Have clear rules and procedures and be consistent. It's annoying. I know it's really hard to say eyes, nose, and toes 15 times in 5 minutes. I get it. I totally get it. I've taught K through 12. However, consistency is key. You have to be consistent all the time. Let them know, let them know, let the students know. Consistency is key at all times. Ensure that the students know and have a clear understanding. You might even want to review it every day at the start of your lesson. At the start of my lesson, every day as I'm doing attendance, I go over the zones of emotion. You might call them something else, zones of behavior, zones of feeling. So every day as I'm doing my roll call, I will say, okay, Natasha, and she'll say, today I'm feeling red, today I'm feeling green. Okay, Veronica, today I'm feeling blue, today I'm feeling yellow. So already before the class begins, I know who is at where in their emotional journey for that day. So if I have a student that's telling me they're feeling red today, I know that they're angry, they're upset, something could go wrong, and I don't want to trigger that throughout the day. So as just a little nugget for you, you could do your roll call like that. That takes 1 minute in the morning, but that 1 minute can help your 8-hour day. Teach from bell to bell. Make sure you're present and focused in keeping the students engaged. It's not going to happen all the time. And I know with online platforms and online learning, it's difficult to keep the students engaged. Although it's a wonderful tool, I have found from teaching online for the last year and a half, actually in Canada, we had a hybrid model. We were in and out of schools based on the number of cases with our public health. And although kids, I found, because I'm currently in the primary level, although the students enjoy technology, because they were born with it, they are native users, whereas I would consider myself an adoptive user. The children love when you engage with them. Now, high school is a bit different. I have colleagues and my sister who teach in high school, they just shut that camera right off. You don't know if they're there or not there, or participating or not participating. And then adults is different. Adults is a different learning model. You know that they want to be there. So it's a lot different when you're looking at an adult platform as opposed to a more primary one. But if you can keep them engaged and teach from bell to bell, that is the absolute best. Idle time invites misbehaviors and misunderstanding. Just to always have something for them to do, even if it is drop and read. Reading is one of the greatest abilities we have as human beings. You know, you cannot even get a driver's license if you cannot read. How would you know to stop the car? So even if your lesson is over and the student is an early finisher, which we know, you know, those early finishers, I'm done, I'm done, I'm done, I'm done. They love to tell you that they're done, the early finishers. So even if you have them do a DEAR, so, you know, drop everything and read, that's fine. You can have them chart their reading progress, and for every few pages that they read or chapter that they read, they can get like a good news ticket, you know, or an email home about, you know, what an excellent reader that their child is. Relationships building is number one. In fact, I probably should have started with this. Without a relationship built in the classroom, and as I said, you know, that level of care, there's a fine line there, and you don't want to cross it. A relationship is not, you know, going over the boundaries. We need to respect each other. The students respect you as an educator, and you respect the students as your students. They're in your classroom, so they're under your care. You have a duty of care with them. So it's that clear boundary of respect amongst each other. And then this way, from that platform, no matter what the norm is, the students will adhere to it because you respect each other, right? And respect is not, a student is misbehaving in the classroom, embarrassing them, shaming them, calling them out. There are many non-verbal cues that you can use. Walking by the desk, tapping on the desk, maybe looking at them, possibly stating to the class, oh, I'm going to wait till everyone in a black colored shirt is giving me eyes, nose, and toes. So this way, there might be 5 kids in the class, or 5 teenagers, or 5 adults with a black shirt on. Nobody knows who it is, but whoever it was is going to focus now. So just making that respect threshold there. Embarrassing students, calling them out in front of everyone can heighten the situation and then can reflect poorly on you, because it can be seen as that you're bullying that student or picking on them. That might not be your intention. Of course, it might not be your intention. However, it might be the perception. As I said, we live in a litigious society, and everything is about perception now. So as we see here, effective teachers greet their students every day, every class and period, and we make them feel happy. We make the students feel happy to be there. I know that we have a lot to do throughout the day, and there's a lot of new educators that, they want to hit those points. They want to hit all those different points throughout the lesson and just get going, get going, get going. You can get going as much as you want. If you're teaching to a classroom of students who don't even feel that they're happy to be there, or that their educator enjoys them being there, it's useless. It's absolutely useless. And for many of us, we're here because we love the job. Teaching no longer pays more than many other jobs, and it's a lot of work. It's actually not a job, it's a lifestyle. I once read that teachers steal from home to bring to school. So they'll take all the pens or all the paper from their house and bring it to school. Whereas maybe in an office, you might sneak a pen here and there. So it's a lifestyle. Education is a lifestyle. It's part of everything you do. Just this morning, I was out for coffee before the presentation, and I said, oh, I think I need, can I, buy, or can I have an extra 10 coffee cups for a lesson that I want to do today? So being an educator is something that you do every single day. So hitting all those points in a lesson is great. However, if the students don't feel that they're greeted and that they're welcomed in that room, no lesson that you do is going to matter. Tell your students why you love teaching. That's exactly what they want to hear. Why are you there? Why do you love teaching? Why you chose this profession, okay? And why you're happy to be with them as well, and you really, you enjoy the institution of education. All right, so we do know that every year there are cyclical phases in your teaching, and your classroom behavior will change possibly around those times, and your ability to remain calm and to maintain composure. We start the school with great anticipation, then we go into survival, delusionment, and then we start again preparing for the next year. We even know that the school plan, or the board of education's plan, we know that for the next coming year, they start as early as December and January, already preparing for the following year, and what it would be the different procedure, what is the improvement plan, and so forth. So our classroom needs to kind of look a lot the same. We need to sort of have that same platform, because we start off really strong and then we let go a little bit, and then we start off again, usually after the winter holidays. We're rejuvenated and then we get going again, but we can't let go of our routines, of our procedures, and of our patterns in the classroom. We need to continuously have that going and continuously keep it at the same pace. You know, if you didn't allow water bottles in the classroom in September, well, come January, you don't want to have a new norm in your classroom. I just want to preface by saying I've taken myself away from using the word rules, because rules are often meant to be broken. And a lot of times rules can be seen as a negative or a fighting word. And this is a workshop I did many, many years ago in Toronto, that certain language ignites certain behaviors in students. So I now call it norms. It's just normal that we don't swear in the classroom. It's just normal that when we come in, we greet each other and then we sit down. If it's a rule, it might be challenged. But if it's a social norm in the classroom, it's a social norm. And teach enthusiastically. Not every day is going to be a great day. Not every day is, for you as an educator, not every day is going to be the best day of your existence. No way, for sure, no. But we want to try and keep that classroom climate going and teach as enthusiastically as possible. And there are lessons that don't require that, and that's understandable. However, something that we need to keep in our mind is that when we're there with the students, they don't know if this is your greatest lesson, your worst lesson, if you invented it 5 minutes ago, if you're changing it as you go. They don't know that. The students are not aware of that. Only you are. So try and keep that motivation and that enthusiasm up as much as you possibly can. So I'm going to do because we're at the midpoint, I'm going to do a quick little pause right now, just a quick little pause. And I'm going to go to our chat box and I'm going to ask for the first 3 educators to type in the chat box. If they could type in the chat box 3 things that they do every day to make their students feel welcome. And if they can leave their email with it, and those 3 educators are going to get an email from me with, as I said in the beginning, a package of different procedures and protocols and norms for the classroom. So that is for the first 3 educators. And don't forget to leave your email so that I can email that to you. Please make sure you have your email there. I see greet my students, call them by their names, smile.
The problem is they're not putting their email address.
Yes, I know. Yeah, please, educators. I have, okay, so I have Halima, Kelsa, and Mohammed Al-Shakwi. Make sure you give me your email. Halima, Kelsa, and Mohammed Al-Shakwi. If you can put your email, you are the first 3 educators. Thank you, Mohammed. That's awesome. Mohammed, Chelsea, Kelsa, Mohammed, Kelsa, and Halima. Halima, we need your email.
Her email is there, I think. I've got it. Halima,
okay.
Halima Bufara.
You've got Halima? Awesome. I love it. Engaging my students, ask them about their favorite things. That's amazing. Thank you so much, everybody. Awesome. So we have some friends who are some friends in our presentation today who are gonna get some things from me, and I hope you'll be happy with them. So having different motivational quotes and posters in your classroom is definitely something that I would recommend. Pre-COVID, you know, we had our classrooms decorated amazing, post-COVID, different schools have different norms in regards to that. So if you are running a PowerPoint every day, what I would suggest is after you take attendance and before you start your lessons, each lesson have a little motivational quote or a little motivational poster, and just call on a different student in the classroom to go ahead and read that before you start your class. Just something to get you going. All right, so here's a few of my different quotes that we use, and if you want, go ahead and screenshot that. So just different quotes that you can use every day in your classroom on the board. I know that both in Canada and Kuwait right now, if we are going to put anything up in the classroom, it does need to be laminated or behind plastic. So I've avoided all of that completely, and I'm just going to run everything off of the computer, off of a PowerPoint presentation. And for our 3 winners, they will receive those package of slides to help them get themselves going. So I'm just going to run it off of a PowerPoint, and I'll ask a different friend in the classroom or student, however you like to address them. In Canada, we call them friends. It's just part of creating that healthy, happy, whole classroom. Which is ironic because they're not our friends, because the students know that they're not our friends, but they know that we call them friends. So, you know, sometimes common sense is not so common, I guess. Yeah, so you can ask a student to read it every day before your lesson, and that just gets them going as well. And then, you know, you can have different things happening in your classroom, different reward systems going on in your class. And, you know, just as a little education, or we call it like a pencil upgrade, you know, and that's just rewarding the students for the things that they're doing that are positive. We don't want to reward negative behavior. We want to ignore negative behavior. We want to ignore students who are stealing the learning in the classroom. And I often say that with my students is everybody has the opportunity to be here and learn. Please do not steal that from them. Do not steal time from the learning where I have to redirect behavior in the classroom. We're all here to learn. So just like you as an educator, you also like to be rewarded and recognized and, you know, upgraded, as they like to say. And, you know, the kids these days, they have all these new terms, upgraded. So we like to do that as well with our students. You know, pre-COVID, we had that ability a lot more than post-COVID. So something that I'm doing this year is I have a bubblegum machine, virtual bubblegum machine. And every time I see healthy, happy behavior, I put a bubblegum in the machine until we have a full one. And then the students get 5 minutes of dear time. So drop everything and read, 5 extra minutes of snack time, or they get to choose what they want to watch for their indoor recess. They can, you know, like Magic School Bus or whatever, they can choose that. So whatever is your educational institution and whatever is your classroom, whatever you're teaching, everybody likes to be rewarded. That's why we upgrade our phone every year or every other year. Even adults like to be upgraded. They like to have a reward. They like to be recognized. Maybe they wrote an essay that's a glowing essay. Ask them to read it for the class. It's not all about you. We are in a post-COVID 21st century, going into the 22nd century, you know, world, and everybody likes to be recognized. You know, we might even, if you're in a university, you might have students who are smarter than you. You might have students who are taking your class because they have to, not because they need to. So, you know, we're not only the sage on the stage. Everybody has something to bring to the table. And when you go into a learning institution like that everybody you meet has something to teach you, even if they're 5 years old, you'll be much more successful. Self-control, we talked about it, and we're going to talk about it again. Maintaining that self-control, always having What does Oprah say? Whoosha, take a deep breath. You know, you can be the superintendent, the director of a school. It doesn't mean you're not human. You need to take a deep breath. Step back. You might even have educators that are challenging you. Let's say you're working in administration, and we know that education is a hierarchical institution, just much like policing. Education is a hierarchical institution, which is very difficult in the 21st century because we, the Generation Z, Gen Z, Gen Y, they're coming from a platform where parents historically were in charge. So the home looked like a hierarchical institution. Now, you know, where families are only having 1 or 2 children, as opposed to historically 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, there was a hierarchy in the home, and there was many children. So parents were focused, but not as hyper focused as they are now. Now in the home, parents may have 1 or 2 children, and parents are hyper focused on those 2 children. They're having them later in life. So what's happening is, in hierarchical bodies, they're being challenged. And we know that maybe if you're an administrator and you have new educators coming in, and you're sort of managing them around, they might stop and say, excuse me, no, I'm not going to do that. That's not what I'm going to do. You're crossing my boundary. Historically, we've never seen this. I know that in certain countries and in certain institutions that may not happen, but I challenge you that it may and it will going forward, you know, especially if you're coming from a country with a unionized environment, administration. You got to take a deep breath. Definitely, you have to take a deep breath. So even in the classroom, children as early as 2 and 3 years old, they're telling their parents what to do. They're telling their parents what they want to eat. It's no longer this sort of hierarchy where parents are, you know, sort of pecking order at their children. So we really need to be mindful of this and understand that we are the educator. Take a deep breath, you know, and step back. I understand. Good point. Even with parents, as I said, parents are overworked, overstressed. The last thing they want is a phone call from you. Of course, they're going to go from 1 to 100. Take a deep breath, start with the positive, and migrate into what you want to talk about, and end on a positive note. No matter what happens, you end on a positive note. All right, so here's some diffusers. If you want to go ahead and get a screenshot of this, here are some ways to diffuse conversations. Take a deep breath, step back, and use this language. You want to validate a conversation, not argue it. Rather than releasing your voice over theirs, use attention getters, callbacks. In the classroom, when you're working with students, silence is golden. Lower your voice when they hear that you're lowering your voice and you're stopping and pausing. The students will follow along. Never, ever try to overtalk them. You'll never overtalk them. It's like counting up. 1, 2, 3. You'll get to 1,000,000 before they stop. So when it looks and sounds like everyone's ready to begin, we will begin. And as I mentioned before, the callbacks, getting their attention, like eyes, 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 the students respond, eyes, eyes, eyes. Students respond and roll. So just having those norms, those different behaviors in the classroom, silent signals, you know, such as please stop what you're doing and make a better choice. I'm going to wait until you're ready. When you're ready, I'll know because pencils are down, eyes, nose, and toes, and so forth. Different ways of managing your classroom and ensuring that no one is stealing the learning. All right, so you can always say, I'm looking for a quiet hand. I'll call on students who are silent. This just reinforces that behavior. And then, as I said, we also have the callbacks like, oh, and so forth. We have students who always want you to choose them. We know that. I would suggest that you scan the room, circle the room, and then choose those friends who are unknowing. I recently attended a conference for multilingual learners, and they said, as educators, we get so tired and frustrated throughout the year that we usually teach to the knowing. Like, who can tell me what happened at yesterday's lesson? So we teach to those students. They start talking, they raise their hand, pick me, pick me, pick me. However, what we need to do is take a step back and teach to the unknowing, because there's a lot of students in the room who don't even know what happened yesterday. There could have been so much going on in their mind. And, you know, I don't like to talk about this because I'm not a doctor, so I don't know a lot about it, but a lot of mental health as well that can be happening that can hinder students' abilities in the classroom. Calling on students equally. This is something that I use. I love it, the popsicle sticks. And I just try to call on students. And, you know, it's also a form of cold calling, which is behavior management as well. Go ahead and take a screenshot of this, my friends. So what you do is you have your jars, and then you just move the sticks around into the different jars until they're completed. Okay. And so you can also use it per lesson. Divvy up the students and have a few students in math, a few in language, and a few in science. So when science comes around, you're pulling those names out of science, and they don't know who it is that you're calling on. They don't know who's in science. It might be Susie, John, and Khalifa and Muhammad who are in science. They don't know. They might think they're in English, and it also creates a little game for the kids every day, something interesting to do. You don't have to do it every day either, so that the novelty is broken. You can do it, once a week even. Whatever it is that's your strategy for your classroom, these are just tools to help you. All right, so teaching expectations. For many of us in Kuwait, tomorrow is our first day. The first 2 weeks, yes, we have to teach academically, of course. However, the second those kids show up and they come into the classroom, the second they show up and they come into the classroom, they're ready for you, you're ready for them. Those first 2 weeks, you have curriculum, bien sûr, but you also need to be ready for them with the expectations and the norms so they know what to do for the rest of the year. You only get 2 shots in a year, beginning of the year and after winter holidays, where you can start changing things or start fresh. But other than that, you cannot just start introducing, today we're going to do this, next week we're going to do this. Doesn't work. They're not going to follow along. They're going to be like, Miss, she doesn't even know what we're doing. One day we do A, one day we do Z. No. I wouldn't recommend to do that. Confusion is not good. Consistency is key. Here we have a little quote for us from John Wooden, UCLA legendary basketball coach. During the first few weeks of basketball practice, he taught those college men how to tie their shoes and how to put on their socks. He did not assume that they knew how to do this correctly. When you assume, you make a mule out of yourself and others. Never, ever assume that someone knows how to do things. My mother is the queen of assumptions. I love my mom. I love her to death. She's this cute little, Eastern European lady. And she always assumes that everybody in the family knows what to do. And then nothing gets done and she gets upset. And I tell her, Mama, stop assuming. Nobody knows what you want them to do. Please vocalize and tell them. Tell them what you want them to do. Yes, ask them to wear their name tags. Ask them to wear their masks. Don't assume that they know how to wear their masks. All right, we assume that students come into our class willing and ready to learn. You know, we need to be sure to revisit everything at the beginning of the semester. We need to be sure to understand that from kindergarten to grade 12, you know, they're the same, really. If you think about it, grade 1, grade 12, they're kids, and they just want to know that you're happy that they're there. They want to know, as one of our members said, that you know their name. They want to know that you have a high expectation for them, that you're teaching to the unknowing, not just, okay, Zahra is an A+ student. Well, what about Veronica, who's a D+ student? Doesn't she deserve to learn? Doesn't she deserve the same expectations? Doesn't she also deserve the same norms for the classroom? So no matter where they're at their learning, you need to have a high ceiling, low floor, different points of entry for everyone. All right. So make sure that you know, they know what to do when they come in, that bell work. Make sure early finishers know what to do. What level of noise is permitted? And yelling and screaming, forget it. Stop, pause. Maybe you have a bell. I saw on TikTok and I brought it for my students here in Kuwait. A lot of students now have a doorbell. Teachers are using a doorbell to let the students know that it's too loud, or they have a callback, or they have a, you know, a clap, whatever you like. I don't want to tell you what you should do. I'm just giving you suggestions. So whatever you like, they know the expectation. When to use their pencil. Not that I think we'll be using a lot of pencil paper these days. How to behave in the classroom. Electronic devices. Having a policy for electronics. Teaching expectations. Front load the behavior. Front load everything. Model what you do. Lead how you do it, and test how you do it. Just putting rules up doesn't work. If you tell the kids no devices during the lesson, should you be texting during a lesson? If you tell the kids no eating during a lesson, then maybe you shouldn't be eating during a lesson. I mean, that wouldn't apply for me. As I said, I'm bad. I'm really bad. I love my coffee and my water and sometimes I need a snack during the lesson, but we're human, right? And you know, you might have students who have a medical need that need to have that. So not embarrassing them at that point either.
Natasha,
Yes.
I'm so sorry to interrupt, but you have 1 more minute, please.
Okay.
Because the question and answer session will start at 12.
Okay, we'll start at 12. All right. I'm sorry, friends. I thought that we were going right until 12:30. So basically, for the rest of it is I'm just giving you different apps that you can use, like Go Noodle, use cartoons, set clear and concise consequences. Again, using posters that are co-created with the student, positive reinforcement, the 100 walls, so displaying student work, always display student work. It makes them feel that the classroom belongs to them. It's the third teacher. And then electronic games like Kahoot, and be the teacher who uses passion when they teach, sees challenges as opportunities, reaches out to the students to ensure that they're doing their best, that they're engaged learners. And even though it's hard, it's worth it. If it wasn't worth it, none of us would still be here. All right. So, Anne, I think that will conclude my minute. And again, Ed's, the rest of the presentation where I ended was just talking again about different, as I said, different electronic games and so forth. So we will go now into our question and answer. Is that correct?
Yes, and thank you so much, Natasha.
I'm going to put my
presentation.
Thank you.
Had
I'm going to
lots
put
of
my socials on the screen in case anybody needs to contact me. You can always contact me via social media, as well as I have a YouTube channel where I talk about different methods and procedures in the classroom.
Thank you so much for that. Now, to remind people that if they want, if they want a certificate, okay, here is, I hope you can see that. No, it went to Zara. I just want it to go to everyone. Can everyone see this? Here is the URL. If you would go to it and put your name, fill it out with your name and your that you want on your certificate, and also your email. Don't put it here in the chat box. Follow this URL, please. Okay. Please do not put your name in the chat box if you want a certificate. You must click on the link that I put there. Okay. The first question is, and this is not for Natasha, but people were wondering how they can find the PowerPoint presentations. We don't have those uploaded because often they're not shared with us. However, each of the sessions has been recorded and they're available on the Tesol Kuwait YouTube channel. Okay, you can just go into the search engine in YouTube and write Tesol Kuwait, and it's the one where you see with our logo and the flag. Okay, Natasha, the first question is, how should we avoid confrontation in case it happens in the class?
Okay, I'm just going to stop sharing then. I'll stop sharing that. Thank you so much, Anne.
No, you can. We like to see you when you talk.
Oh yes, of course, absolutely. It's my pleasure. How can you avoid confrontation in the classroom with yourself and the student? Again, as I said, what you want to do is not get to a point where you're having that kind of confrontation. So make sure that when you're starting your day, you're seeing the students before they come into the classroom. Not just an early entry, they come in as they wish. Greet them at the door, make sure that you have an opportunity to see them. Oftentimes you can see already on their face, their behavior, how it will be for that day. And then when you do your roll call in the morning, you know, like when you ask who's there and who's present and so forth, you can have something like the zones of behavior, the zones of feeling, everybody has a different name for it. So you can ask them already how their day is going and you'll know what kind of day it's going to be. You might have a student who is very challenging and difficult, who presents as someone who might be oppositionally defiant. And in that case, I would suggest that you co-create with that student, that you co-create with them different ways that you can keep that behavior sort of at bay, I guess you would say, and different things that ignite that student to want to be an active and healthy participant in the classroom. So maybe they like to read, maybe they want to pick, you know, the lunchtime movie that you have on Fridays or whatever it might be. It's just getting to know your students and getting to know what are their personal boundaries as well. Maybe they truly need a break. You know, our children in the 21st century are a lot different than, let's say, when I went to school. So the children can voice and vocalize when they need a break. So if you see that the situation is going too far, stop. Excuse me, Hussein, do you need to take a break right now? Why don't we revisit this in a few minutes? Maybe sit at your desk, read, take a break, have a drink of water. How about go to the bathroom and come back? You know, that's an excellent way to de-escalate. Tell them, would you like to go, maybe go to the bathroom, take a deep breath, and then when you get back to class, we'll talk about this. So you don't want to let it go to a point where you're like, screaming, and when you're in a confrontational match in front of 20 other kids, because guess who doesn't look good? You, not that child, because the children know enough to know that they're the student.
Okay, thank you. Our next question is, could you send the presentation by email?
Anne's my boss, so I'm gonna let Anne decide.
Guys, we cannot, really, we do not have facilities for sending out the stuff. If it will be, the recording will be posted
Available
on the Kuwait YouTube channel. And
yes,
I'll be happy to bring up the suggestion about on our Tesol Kuwait site if the board wants to start posting the presentation PowerPoint. So I promise that I will bring that up at our board meeting. Okay.
yeah, and it's recorded as well. It's recorded, friends, so everything is there on the YouTube. It's recorded.
Okay, next question. How can we help teachers gain the confidence that they are the educators and the students are the learners? Most of the time when the class is out of control, teachers blame it on the students' upbringing or age.
No, we have 50-year-olds who behave badly. I don't think that age is a factor when it comes to the students' behavior. There's 50-year-olds who are on their device all day long. My dad is 73. He's on his phone all day long. Even like in the middle of dinner, we have to yell at him. He has bad behavior. No, I don't think that's a factor. I also don't know, or if I would say personally that a family upbringing, I hail from Canada, and in Canada we have a lot of children who come out of a lot of bad, difficult homes. We have 1 in 5 students who is hungry when they come to school. We are feeding children at school. You would never think that of Canada, but it's a fact. We're feeding children at school. I just think that sometimes children, teenagers, adults are coming out of environments that are not within their control. And when they come to you, when the student comes to school, when they see, Miss Kelsa, they feel comfort, they feel love, and they feel like Miss Kelsa is the only one who understands and gives me their undivided time. So sometimes they act out because you're the only one listening. At home, they act out. Their parent tells them, be quiet, go to your room. Here's your iPad, get out of here. They don't pay attention all the time. Or maybe there's nobody at home. When they come to school, you're there every day. You're the only thing that is consistent for many of our students. So it's not so much that their home environment is an indicator, because we also have children who are coming out of sheer poverty who become PhD graduates, So I just think that there's a whole host of issues. And I think that the educator needs the freedom, but this is where I put the lens on administration. You cannot micromanage a school. You have to give teachers the ability, or whatever, teachers, educators, however you want to say it, the ability to do their best work and trust them that they're doing their best work.
Okay, thank you. And our last question is how to tackle an individual or group of students who incessantly annoy you with their pranks, take no interest, and bully most of the time.
So they're bullying the teacher, possibly in that case, they're bullying the teacher. And I think when it comes to a group of students, it's possible that there's an alpha that's leading that group, and possibly finding out who is it that's leading that group. And again, why are they doing that? Why are they behaving that way? Possibly, are they not engaged in the lesson? And, you know, as I said earlier, nobody wants to be seen as dumb, you know, so, it's easier to be a bad boy or a bad girl. It's more lucrative. It's kind of cool. Like, you act out in class, you're really bad. As opposed to saying, oh, you know, Dalal, she's really dumb. She can't read. It's more lucrative to do a prank or a joke than to be the one who doesn't know how to read. So how do you get attention? You behave badly. And we know that that's kind of the avenue that a lot of students take, is to behave badly, as opposed to, they know they can't read, you know they can't read, but they don't want their peers to know that they can't read, right? So then they act out in different ways. And then, of course, you know, if it's criminal or something that you need to be vigilant about as yourself, as an educator, then of course I would say you need to seek administration as soon as possible. If it's something that's criminal or becoming heightened, seek administration and talk with them to create a meeting, and then you can welcome parents in. But make sure you have evidence. Evidence is key about what is going on in that classroom.
Thank you so much. Does anyone else have a question? Because I put the ones that were typed, but if anyone else has a question, this is the time to ask it.
If you have any questions, comments, or concerns. And then before we go, we'll have one more little giveaway. So we'll just wait for that.
Okay. I don't see any other questions, but to remind you that I had put the link there. It's in the chat for you to click on if you want a certificate and to fill that out. Other housekeeping things is in February, we will have our conference. I think it's the 6th, 7th, and 6th and 7th. Or,
yeah.
Okay. But that is also after the close of the conference, we name a new board. Okay. And we really want to get more people involved. So Dr. Marine is unable to be here. She's teaching a class right now. And she has asked me to request that if you are interested in serving on the board, that you would send your CV, and you can send it. I'll type in, okay, President-elect at, I'm trying to remember what my address is, because I just always do it just 1 minute and I'll tell you what it is there. That's not very good, is it? When you can't remember what yours is. Okay, because I can never remember if it's org or if it is net, but it's net. President-elect at Tesol Kuwait.net. Okay, if you would send your CV and just let me know that you are interested in serving on the board, I will make sure that Dr. Marine gets this. And I have a vested interest in this because in February I will become the president. So I know how hard people have worked here that want to have a strong board to continue. So really, really encourage you, Natasha.
I encourage everybody. I mean, I was on the board from 2015 to 2017. I still have wonderful friends, from when I was on the board. And then while I was out of Kuwait, I always kept in touch with many of our board members, and now I'm back in Kuwait. And I look forward to working again with Tesol Kuwait, and it's wonderful and flexible. I know what educators are thinking. It's not flexible. There's meetings all the time. I don't have time for this. I promise you, my friends, I am very, very busy, but Tesol Kuwait, they are so flexible with you. And now that we have Zoom meetings, like I'm sitting at home, I was sitting at home in Canada, like attending meetings, it's awesome. I suggest for you, we would love to have you and everybody in this group. Like I see the chat now and I'm going, I'm scrolling. Everybody in this group has so much capacity. We'd love to have you with us.
And again, that is president-elect at tesolkuwait.net. Okay, another question, Natasha, has come in.
Yes.
I see too much use of tech tools and overuse of apps and games in class, eventually turning students into robots. Integrated technology in class is essential in modern teaching and learning, but I see the other side of artificial intelligence. So do you think we should reconsider the impact of technology in the classroom?
Oh, what an existential question, eh? So let me answer this professionally. I'm going to answer this professionally and not personally. I think that there's a place and time for everything. And what we do know going forward is that technology has helped and enhanced many of our lives. And I hope that it will do that for our students. And I hope that it will not be a hindrance to their future.
Thank you. Any other questions? As I type here, sorry about that. Okay, no other questions? CV for what? If you are interested in serving on the Tesol Kuwait board, okay, because it gives us an idea of what your strengths are and everything, okay? And then selections will be made, but really encourage you. Okay, any other comments, questions?
May I say something, ma'am?
Sure.
Well, this is Dr. Ghulam Ali Buriro from Pakistan. I thank you very much. It has been very insightful. And I truly adored the energy of, I wish she could be Dr. Natasha.
I know, me too.
She could maintain a high level of energy right from the start off to the last minute of a presentation, and the enthusiasm was spellbinding. And I thank you very much, especially Tesol Kuwait, because putting together these kind of activities, taking so much of your personal time out for the service of us poor teachers around the world. I'm truly humbled, and I believe that I pray for your long life, sound health, and I wish that you, madam, from Tesol Kuwait, and of course, teacher Natasha, you may prosper throughout the year, stay happy and blessed. We will always, always be endlessly grateful for sharing your wisdom, experience, intelligence, and knowledge. God bless us all.
Thank you so much. And we do appreciate
Doctor.
people that share their time. Natasha, it's been such a pleasure. It's nice to learn stuff because I think we constantly, even though we've been teaching for a long, long time, we constantly are able to learn something new. And I certainly did. So I really appreciate that. Also, for those of you who are outside Kuwait, like Azerbaijan, Iran, Saudi, let's see, Pakistan, Egypt. If when you get the announcements, when you see the announcements for our webinars, we encourage you to share them with your colleagues and all. Okay. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you again, Natasha. Wonderful presentation. Thank
Thanks,
you
Pam.
to all the people who have attended today. Thank you for the wonderful comments. So thank you and hope that you have a great day. Bye-bye.